Hello. Today I wanted to hop on and talk a little bit about what are some of my future projects that I'm hoping to complete down the road. So today I'd like to just go through my list of works in progress and um, future cosplays that I'd like to do. So starting off, I have the cosplay that I am currently working on. It's in progress behind me right now. It is a redo of a costume that I've been wanting to do for a very, very, very long time of my favorite fictional character, Sauron from The Lord of the Rings. I'm going to be doing a kind of my own take on him. There's going to be some inspiration drawn from his design in the movies with the pauldrons, the spiked pauldrons, and his crown. But a lot of it is going to be my own kind of unique take, my own design for that character. So down the road, after I finish Sauron, I'd like to do some variations of Data, who is the character I currently cosplay. He's got so many great looks throughout the seasons, and I already have the base for his costume. I've already got the makeup, I've already got the eyes, I've already got the wig, so it makes sense to do some variations of him to play around with that costume. Specifically, there's two that I'm really excited to do down the road. One, I'd love to do his look from one of my favorite episodes, the season 7 episode Thine Own Self, where he is jaded radioactive. So that's the episode where he loses his memory and crash lands on the planet where the entire population are like the pre-industrial medieval society. And so he gets to wear a cool medieval outfit for most of that episode. And then at the end, of course, there's the cool scene where he gets hit in the face with a hoe and gets half his face torn off, and then all his robotic underparts of his face are showing, and he's got the blinky lights in his cheek and stuff. And so I would love to do that design. I go to a lot of Renaissance fairs as well as Comic Cons, and I would love to have that costume to pull out to go to Renaissance fairs and then wander around pretending to be amnesiac Data and see who catches on. And then being able to figure out how to do the prosthetics and the makeup for when he gets his face torn off. I think that would be a really cool look if I'm able to pull it off. The other variation of Data that I'd really love to do is his look from the very end of the movie First Contact, when he's been experimented on by the Borg, and at the very end you get to see him, and he's got the cool, what I call the patchwork Data face. So he's got like a seam down the middle of his face, and then on the one side he's got his regular pale makeup, and then on the other side he's got the regular skin that the Borg have grafted onto him, and then he's got the cool heterochromia going on. But it's a very iconic, cool look for Data. I'd love to do that too and play around with the makeup. I'd also love to do Lore, who is Data's evil twin brother. Again, I've already got the base for a Sung-type android. I've got the makeup, the contacts, the wig, so it'd be fairly easy to switch over and do Lore, who's a great villain. I'd probably start by doing his wonderful oven mitt outfit from the episode Brothers, but I would also not be opposed to doing his evil overlord onesie from the episode Descent. So going down the road past variations on Data and Sung-type androids, another character I'm really excited to get to is the heroine from one of my favorite movies of all time that nobody has heard of, called Strange Magic. And the character I'd love to do is Princess Marianne, who is the punk rock fairy warrior princess, main character of the movie. And she's got these gorgeous, huge, big purple butterfly wings. And I would love to figure out how to make the butterfly wings. Especially, I'd like to figure out how to make them adjustable so that I could have them like folded behind me or have them posed out, flared out depending on where I'm at. So I think that would be a cool challenge to take on, doing those cool wings. Two costumes that would be a little easier, but still characters that I really love, but that I could kind of slip in between some of the more difficult, harder, complex costumes. First is a childhood favorite, an old favorite character, Dustfinger from Inkheart, which is one of my favorite childhood book series. Most of his costume I'd probably be able to thrift. I wouldn't have to make a whole lot of it, but he's got the cool facial scars that would be fun to play around with liquid latex and makeup. And then, of course, you'd have to have Gwen. I've already actually got the stuffy for Gwen and just need to sew on Gwen's horns sometime when I have the ability to do that. And that would be a fairly easy cosplay to put together. Another fairly easy cosplay, I'd like to do my own variation of Loki from the Norse myths. So I'd probably do like a very Viking looking outfit, and then of course he's got the cool scars on his lips in the myths, and that'd be fun to play around with. I'd probably take some inspiration from my very favorite Norse fantasy ever, which is Rune Marks by Joanne Harris. And he's got a really cool design in those books, and I'd probably take some inspiration from that. But that would be another one that I could easily pull out at a Renaissance fair and not be out of place. Moving down the road, another costume that would be kind of a redo from a costume that I did when I was very, very, very young. And one of my favorite characters when I was a child, and the character who got me to love villains when I was little, Clooney the Scourge from the Redwall book series. His costume would be quite difficult to do, but I would love to pull it off. It's such an iconic look, especially for anyone who has read those books or watched the TV show, which was a lot of us from my generation. And I think he'd be a really cool character to pull off. And he's just got so much going on with his costume, with the mole skull and batwing cape, and of course doing the animal makeup and the tail with the spike at the end and everything. So he's a character I would love to revisit and do an updated, more professional version of cosplaying. Sticking with the villains, another character, a childhood villain favorite that I'd love to do is Queen Jadis, aka the White Witch from the Chronicles of Narnia. She's another one of the villains that I grew up with, who I loved. I got to play Jadis in a production of The Magician's Nephew a few years back, and it was the best role I have ever gotten to play. She's so much fun. She's so villainous, and very cool look. I'd possibly take some inspiration from her design in the movies, but more likely I'd go my own way with her and kind of do my own White Witch design. The movies are cool, but I've always had a very different picture in my mind of how she looked. I'd probably go more with that and maybe incorporate some of the elements from the movies into it, but kind of do the same thing I'm doing with Sauron. Maybe take some of her more iconic elements from the movies, but then most of it being my own design. Keeping with the villain theme, if you can't tell, I like my villains. A much more recent character, I would like to try doing Adar from the Rings of Power TV show. He was a super interesting character, I thought, on the show. Probably the most interesting of the original characters that they created for the show. I thought he was a really gutsy character for them to include, for them to show. That's a part of Middle-earth's history, a very dark part of Middle-earth's history, that I thought it was very intriguing for them to explore that with that character. And he's got a really cool design. He's got the extensive facial scarring for being tortured, and So that would be really cool to play around with and figure out how to do with liquid latex and makeup. He's got those just razor sharp cheekbones. That his armor is very cool. And then I especially really love his one-handed gauntlet. I'm actually going to be incorporating that into my Sauron cosplay. I When I saw Rings of Power, I really love that asynchronous or asymmetrical is the word I'm looking for. Asymmetrical design that the one-handed gauntlet gave Adar, and I just thought it was a really cool look, and I decided to incorporate that into my Sauron cosplay. So I'm already going to be making Adar's gauntlet, so I'll already have that made for when I decide to do Adar down the road. I also suspect that I'll probably be doing more Rings of Power cosplaying as more seasons come out. We already know we're going to get several new looks for Sauron in season 2. I've already seen some people putting together cosplays for his cool gold and black outfit that we've seen him in the trailer. And I'm guessing we're going to get some more cool designs for him down the road, as well as possibly other characters. So I'm guessing at some point I'm probably going to do some more Rings of Power cosplaying. Finally, way down the road, 3 characters from my favorite book, The Silmarillion, that I'd love to do original character designs for. The first character is a minor character in the book, but one of my favorites, Eonwë. Now, Eonwë is a Maya, which is the same race of beings as Sauron and Gandalf and Saruman, and he is the commander of the army of the gods. And he's the banner bearer of the king of the gods. And so I'd love to do his armor. I imagine him with this cool tabard over the top of his armor, and then his standard with the symbol of the king of the gods on it. And one really cool thing, which is not canon, it's not stated in the books, but Eonwë in the books is associated a lot with eagles. And the thing that is often portrayed with him in fandom is he has gigantic eagle wings. And I'd love to do that with my design and give him like big angel wings. And I think that would be a really cool look. Another Silmarillion character who I'd love to do is Feanor, who is the infamous elf king, who's kind of the instigator of the entire events of the Silmarillion. He's the creator of the Silmarils and the Palantiri. And he's just such an iconic character. I can't even describe him if you haven't read the books. He's quite the character. And I'd love to do his look, his design, kind of original design for him. And I'd love to go to cons and memorize the infamous oath of Feanor and like dramatically perform the oath of Feanor at like Comic Cons and stuff. The final character, another original character design that I'd be doing from the Silmarillion, another of my favorite characters is Mithros, who is Feanor's oldest son. And he is my favorite elf from the Silmarillion. He's a very complex, cool character. He also gets tortured quite a bit, so he's got quite a few scars. I'd be able to play around with that. It's not described in the book, but just that he's very scarred afterwards. And he's missing one of his hands, so I would have to figure out how to do his missing hand, and then he's just got a very cool armor robes sort of design that I've got in mind for him. So those are the characters that I currently have planned. I'm sure that list will grow as the years pass, but that should keep me very, very busy for many, many years to come. So over the next couple months, you'll be seeing updates for my Sauron design, and then we'll have to see what comes next after that. But that is what is coming up for Linden Cosplay. Thanks for joining me.